Hello everyone, so welcome to this first video of this mini-series about the job order costing system. And in this video, I'm just going to give a quick introduction about some concepts that we need to know. So the main objective of the job order costing system is to allow us to calculate the cost of the products we manufacture. Now, this is extremely important information to know, as I'm sure you realize, but why is it important to know this? Well, there's three main reasons why. Number one is because it allows us to set the product prices. Number two is because it allows us to control our operations by knowing, for example, if the prices are increasing or decreasing. And number three is because it allows us to develop our financial statements, which therefore are legal documents and we must do them. There are two main systems that allow us to calculate the cost of manufacturing our products. The first one is called the job order cost system, which is the main focus of this mini-series of videos. And the second one is the process costing system. Now let's explain and let's understand what is the job order costing system. First of all, this is a costing system used when you provides the product costs for each quantity of product that is manufactured. In other words, it will allow us to calculate the cost of a batch of products. And each quantity of product here is manufactured. We're going to call it a job. So basically, we use this system when we have businesses that create batches of similar products, but between batches there might be differences, and therefore each one of these batches, let's say we call it a job. Okay, so this is used by companies that manufacture more custom products for customers or batches of similar products, and there's many examples of that. For example, tailors would use this system since all the products they do are customized and therefore they produce their things in batches. Construction projects obviously as well, because every construction project is different from others and therefore it is also generated as a batch. But also, for example, maybe if you produce customizable sweaters, for example, or if you decide to do knitting, each one of the products would be therefore unique. So the job order costing system is used indeed when you have products that are similar in their batch but not necessarily always the same. Now, the process cost system is, well, the other method. And in this method, it also provides us the product costs for each manufacturer department or for each process. And here, instead of dividing our costs by the jobs, we are actually going to divide them by the departments that work in our product. Why? Because in the process cost system, we are producing a uniform product, which is always very similar to the previous one. So therefore, they are indistinguishable. So this is used by companies that manufacture units of a product that are indistinguishable from each other and are manufactured using what we call a continuous process. In other words, they're always fabricating pretty much the same product. What are we talking about? For example, factories of paper. For example, factories of that produce soda or bottling plants. Or as well, for example, a clothing business, if you also always produce the exact same thing. For example, like socks. Socks are pretty much always the same, and therefore we would consider this a process cost system for this type of industries. So in order for us to understand all this, we're going to start by giving an example of a company called Love Purses. So this is a made-up company, and as you probably can guess, they produce purses. So in order for us to understand the process of their manufacturing, well, normally what they do is they first start with their materials, okay, and we're going to have our direct materials, which will be our leather and our filling for the purses. Those materials then will be used by our cutting and sewing department, which have our direct labor, okay, and obviously after that, we're going to have, after they finish transforming those materials into the final product, we have our final product, our purse. All right, so that first section, our direct materials, we're going to have inventory. So this is the first big category of things we have during the process of manufacturing, and while the product is not finished yet, we're going to call it a work in process. So that's another category of products we have. And obviously as well, we have our finished good. Now these three categories, materials, work in process, and finished goods, they represent our three main types of inventories that we need to keep track of. Keeping track of raw materials, keeping track of work that is not completed yet, and keeping track of our finished good that is ready to be sold. On top of all this, obviously, we're also going to have our factory overhead that creates costs for the whole operation, and we also need to manage and consider that. And these three main components, the material, the direct labor, and the factory overhead, is what's going to help us calculate the final product cost. Now, before we move on, also a quick review. Don't forget, direct material and direct labor cost, we call them prime costs when they are added together, and direct labor and factory overhead costs, when we add them together, we call them conversion costs. So for us to understand how all these costs and all this money moves inside the company, let's understand how the job order cost system affects the manufacturing business. Well, we're going to record all these costs by jobs, and that means that jobs that are still in production, all the costs associated with that job, we're going to keep it on the work in process inventory. Once jobs are completed, all the costs associated with that job, we're going to keep it on the finished goods inventory. And finally, once that finished goods is sold, then those costs that were in the finished goods inventory will now be transformed or will be moved into our cost of goods sold. And this is how we move the costs from one category to another in a manufacturing business. Now, in order as well to understand all this, so let me put this maybe in a more graphical manner. So there's going to be a couple of things here. So we're going to have a material storeroom where we keep our direct materials, okay, and this is our material inventory. Then we're going to have our cutting department, our sewing department, and they're going to be doing our production process, okay, and that means like they're going to be adding direct labor and direct overhead costs into our product, and this therefore will now start becoming, the moment that the cutting and the sewing department start working on our materials, then our material that was consumed now is going to be considered a work in process. And finally, when they complete that work in process, once the purse is completed, then we move that purse to a warehouse or to the storage where we keep all of them, and therefore they become finished goods. After those finished goods are in our warehouse and are completed, they are therefore sent to a client, to a purse shop, for example. And therefore, those costs associated with the product will now become cost of goods sold. Okay, I hope that this little process or this little diagram helps you understand how the costs move from one category to. So during these videos, we're going to be using the example of the company Love Purses, and what I'm going to do is work out the process of calculating all the things I was mentioning before by using two different jobs that Love Purses has received. So two clients have requested that we provide them with two shipments of purses. Okay, so we're going to have client A that requested a job, and we're going to call it job 006. Client B requested another job, which is job 007. Job 6 consists of 1,500 green purses, while job 7 consists of 1,000 blue purses. And we're going to be using this in the next videos, this information, in order to calculate all the things that will go. So I'll be using the same example in the entire mini series related to this topic. I hope that with this video you understand what the job order costing system is, okay? And on the next videos, what we're gonna see is how to calculate each one of the components that I mentioned and to arrive at our final and most important information, which is the cost of each one of the products we created. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next video of this mini series.